Welcome back to another beautiful day in the land of music. My name is Douglas, and today I'm going to walk you through splitting sounds on the NORD Stage 3. So my hope with this video is to break it down as simply as I can for you into three components. The first one is turning the split function on. In order to split any sound on the NORD Stage 3, you have to turn the split function on. This is done with this set split button right here. Press that, and it says split on. Now we've turned our split function on. You'll notice nothing actually changed because I didn't define any split zones or sounds to those zones. So you may think, oh, turn splits on. Easy, done. Not quite. The second component is underneath each level knob for the sound panel, there's this on-off zone select button. And you'll notice there's a row of 4 LED lights above each zone select button. So you may be asking, why 4 LED lights? And that's because on the Stage 3, you can have 3 split points, and that gives you a total of 4 zones. So if you think of Zone 1, split point 1, Zone 2, split point 2, Zone 3, split point 3, Zone 4. So we've got 4 zones, 4 LED lights, and 3 split points in between. In those split points, we can choose from 10 locations. And what the Stage 3 gives us is an LED light for each of the possible 10 split points. Now this is a good segue into the third component, and that is the edit screen. So to get to the split edit, we just long press or hold on the split button, just briefly, till our keyboard split screen comes up. And this will stay up until we exit, which is this button right here. And you'll notice that we've got low, mid, and high right here. And we can alternate between those using the 2, 3, and 4 buttons here. You'll notice my selection on the screen moves as I click the buttons. And we've got 2 rows, width and note, and we can move between those with our 1 button here, which swaps our selection between the 2 rows. So let's move to our number 3 button, our mid, and we can move between the width and the note. Now the note indicates any of the 10 split points. So we can change this by turning the knob here to the right of the screen. And you'll notice if I move all the way down, my LED light is now down here. So we've got F2, C3, F3, C4, F4, C5, F5, C6, F6, C7. So those are our 10 possible split points right along the keyboard here. And as we move down, you'll notice our LED moves with us to give us an indication of where our split points are without having to dive into a menu. Within this menu, we can also define the width. And the width is how much transition we have between our 2 zones. So let's say we've got an organ and a piano. And rather than having the piano stop as soon as it gets to the split point and the organ pick up, we can actually, so my highlight's on C4, so I need to hit my 1 button to move up to the top row. And we can pick between off, which these 2 are, 1, 6, or 12. 6 is going to give me 6 semitones up and down of transition between my 2 sounds, and I'll show you that here in a minute. 12 is going to give me 12 semitones up and 12 down of transition between the 2 sounds, so I don't have such a harsh transition between my split point. Now we can define that for any one of our zones, and you'll notice that the light changes color from green to orange to red, depending on what I've got selected for my width. So now that we've talked about the 3 components, turning it on, the zone select LEDs, and how they indicate what's going on your keyboard, that'll make more sense when we get into building this example. And the third component, our edit screen. Now that we've talked through those, let's use this in a practical example. So let's say that for church, we want to build a sound where we've got a synth down here in the lower register of the keyboard, and then we want piano up in the top. And then we'll take that a step further by adding a layered sound that we can transition between our split sound and our layered sound. So first of all, we're only going to have 1 split point. We want to split our keyboard into 2 separate zones. We've got that right here, but I want to move the split point down to the very bottom because I'm going to play simple synth chords while I'm playing the piano top part. To do that, again, my highlight needs to move down to my note. And then I'm going to turn this knob down here so that F2 is my split point for my synth and piano. Now that I've done that, you'll notice nothing actually changed because the only zone that I have on is the piano. and there's no other sound turned on, and I have the piano spread across all of my zones. In this case, there's only 2 zones, so if I hold Shift and press Zone Select, watch what happens with these LEDs. I press it once, and I've got 2 LEDs lit up, indicating that the piano is now set to the bottom half of my 2 splits. And watch, as I get to here, it's going to drop off because I have nothing assigned to the top half. Make sense? So what I want to do is I want the piano to be in the top half. So I'm going to hold Shift again, press Zone Select again. Now my LED moves to the top half. So I've got nothing in the bottom. Hit the split point, and piano all the way to the top range. So nothing down here. We want to put a synth down there, right? So let's turn our synth panel on. We're going to go back to our soft pad 1, and I'm going to bring my attack down. Let's just play that. You'll notice by default when you turn the zone on, it turns it on for all zones. I've got the synth behind the piano right now. We want to move this synth so it's only in the lower half of our zone. And so we're going to hold Shift, press it once, which now you'll see of the 4 LEDs, the bottom 2, I've got my synth in. And then my piano starts in my top half. So what I can do here now is use all of the controls within my sound panel to manipulate the sounds. I'm going to bring this up, bring it up an octave. I'm going to bring the volume up here, bring my frequency knob up. Great, right? So we've got our synth down here. We can play simple chords. We can doodle on the piano up here. And all of our controls. I mean, while we're doing that, maybe we bring this back, bump our piano to soft. Right? So the flexibility's there to tweak this live as we go, but our split point stays here, our synth and our piano stay separate. So let's take this a step further. I'm going to bring the piano back to its normal self, and let's switch to our B panel. And remember, in the NORD Stage 3, we have 2 separate copies of our entire panel. So in our A, we've got piano in the top half, synth in the lower portion. In panel B, we want to have piano and synth across the whole thing, no splits. So I'm going to turn on the synth. I'm going to leave all the zones selected. I'm going to move this back, and we're going to do about the same parameters here. Right? So let's use these together in an example. So we start off the song. And then maybe at this point, we want to transition to fuller playing. Because of seamless transitions, we can move to our B panel. And remember, that's synth and pad over the whole thing. And we can move back to panel A, bring in our pad again. So as you can see, as we start to play around with splitting and layering, the functions within this keyboard are very powerful, especially if you're setting up a live performance sound. There's so much functionality built in around the splits and the layers that you can really bring together a big combination of sounds between the 2 organs, 2 pianos, 2 synths. Splitting and layering in combination with each other can bring about some really powerful sounds. The last thing that I want to do is let's throw another split point in here. So we can either do this by moving up, selecting our width and turning it on, for our low, mid, and high. And you'll notice now I've got 3 LEDs lit up. We can do that, or just by quickly pressing this in succession, we can switch between 1, 2, 2, or 3, right? So we're going to leave that on 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my midpoint up to, oops, see I was on the width. I need to move down, move that up to the middle. And then we're going to put an organ down here. So hold shift. And you'll notice I have quite a few more options to my LEDs here when I press the shift and zone select, because I've got 4 zones now to choose from. So I can do half the keyboard, fill the organ in on 2 zones on the bottom, 2 in the middle, 2 on the top. I can do 3 zones bottom, 3 zones top, all of it together, or 1 zone at a time, work my way up through. I'm going to put the organ on the bottom zone, right? And then in the center zone, that's where I'm going to put my keyboard. And I'm actually going to span that over the 2 middle zones. So I've got organ down here. And then we've got piano here. And then up in the top, that's where we're going to put our synth. So again, hold shift, zone select. Let's move that and let's do the very top zone right there. And there's nothing there because our frequency's down. And let's drop the octave on that. And bring our frequency. And notice that my piano now comes in. And I've got piano all the way down to my organ here. So let's compare these LEDs. I've got 1 LED lit. That means the bottom zone is for the organ. The 2 middle LED lights mean the 2 zones in the middle are set to the piano. And then the top is the synth. So let's talk about the width and show you an example of that. Let's move up to there. And let's use the organ and the piano. So right now we have it set to 1, which means there's a harsh stop between the organ and the piano. Let's bump that up, and we've got to move to our low point, because this is our low point. Move it up to 6. So now we've got 6 semitones up and 6 semitones down, where the organ and piano are going to fade together. So right here, let's start at the organ down here. Just organ, right? And listen, as I start to walk up, the piano starts to fade in. The organ starts to fade out. As you can see, if we bump it up to 12, we now get 12 semitones up and down. If we did that on all the zones, we can do that on all the zones, we would have no harsh transitions between our different sounds. This is maybe a little bit more helpful on the synth. If we move up to high and we do 12. Really cool stuff that you can do with the splits. I hope this has made sense to you. If you've got questions, throw them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. This is something that it took me a while to wrap my brain around, but if you start to break it down into the 3 components, 1, just turn split on. 2, use the zone selects to select which zone you want to pick for your sounds. And then 3, modify the split points and the width of your sounds using holding on the split button and using the keyboard split edit dialog. So again, I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.